Mike Caruso from The Athletic back here on the Fan, trying to track down Erik Johnson. Erik, ESPN analyst, former Gopher, former Stanley Cup champ, and Brett is trying to track him down. He liked the text, so he knows you're calling. But maybe he has one of those spam filters I have on my phone where you don't have a... That's my favorite thing on my phone. If I don't have your number in my phone, you're not ever getting in touch with me. It ain't ringing. No, it's not even ringing? I bet you that's what he has.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we're
I got what you're saying. So thanks to Kevin and Joe. I should have had them stick in for a couple more minutes. So we would have had that. Maybe we'll have Pat Micheletti call in at some point. Get you going, Brett. So yeah, I mean, a lot that we talked about, obviously, with Joe and Kevin, and there's going to be a lot to talk about with the Minnesota Wild this offseason. I'm fascinated, and this is somebody that is one of the most disorganized people in the world, where I have trouble getting my brain to really, wrap myself around trying to get multiple things done at once. And what I'm fascinated by with 8 unrestricted free agents, figuring out, like, if you got to sign Michael McConnell for more than what you thought, do you do that? And then do you have to just compensate at a later date by trading somebody else to free up cap space? Do you have to sit there and with like a Marcus Johansson figure out a way to get him to take lower, but does that affect then a Tarasenko? So there you have all these type of things that you're having to figure out. By the way, try calling him again, because I think he's acknowledged that you're trying to call him. To me, to try to do all at once, I just think is really, really difficult. So if you get McCarron done, now what does that affect on the next to-do list? Do Zuccarello, same type of thing. So I don't know. For me, it's one of those things where I just have trouble buying how they're going to figure out a way to get all this stuff done at once. And if you get McCarron done, I think that changes everything else in terms of what they could afford the rest of the offseason and things like that. So we'll see how that comes together. You having trouble getting them?
Are we sure it's the right number?
I think so. I don't know.
Would you rather have McCarron for $4 million or Marcus Foligno for $4 million? Because that's significant money. It's not huge.
Yeah. I would rather have McCarron at $4 million than Yakov Trenyan at $4 million. How about that one?
Oh, that's possible. Well, I have another number. I'll try that. But
okay.
I'm trying to think of something to get you to tap dance while we go.
Yeah, I mean, to me, by the way, Dane's here too, so you got like 15 things that's going on.
You love that?
I don't know, like Yakov Trenyan, it's funny because I'm trying to get in touch with this kid that did this analytics presentation at the Halo conference that I went to in Denver. And he did this forechecking analytics like piece where he basically presented this thing. And who knows, if his metrics that he's come up with really decides the difference between if a player is really good from a hitting standpoint or not. But he didn't even have Yakov Trenyan on his first 2 pages of being like, somebody that actually, like, his hits actually lead to anything. So is he actually creating turnovers and accomplishing anything beyond just being top of the league in hits? And so I'm trying to get in touch with this kid, Brett, because, like, I just kind of wonder if Yakov Trenyan, especially if he's not going to kill penalties, which he didn't really do down the stretch, if he's somebody that you could now, because he led the league in hits, find it easier to trade, where a year ago I don't think he could have. So I don't know. It's one of those things that to me is, I would rather that. I don't think they're trading Marcus Foligno. I know that as much as you want them to.
Well, he's a great dude. He's a fantastic human. I love the cancer charity bit he's got. Foligno face off. Great human being.
Yeah.
Love the guy.
I just don't see Bill Guerin moving that type of thing. Like, I don't think you have to choose. I agree that he's way too rich for your fourth line. I do agree that. But, I just don't know if that's what you would do. Like, if they figure it out with Michael McCarron, I don't know if that affects Marcus Foligno. It might affect a Ryan Hartman. It might affect a Nico Sturm, but I don't affect anything. Dane, you want to come on the air early? Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press just walked in.
throw me into the deep end.
Yeah, yeah. What's going on with the Vikings, dude?
Well, they have OTA tomorrow.
I know, voluntary.
Yeah.
Are you volunteering to go down there?
We are volunteering to go down there. I'm actually very excited. It's like we've been talking about the Vikings in the abstract and going to rookie minicamp, talking about Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy. We haven't seen them though since the final game of the last season. So the fact that we can now go down there, kind of use our eyes, report what we see. I think everyone's looking forward to it rather than it just kind of existing in the abstract.
Yeah. What's going to happen with the GM? That's the big thing.
Yeah, well, right now they're in kind of, I guess you could call it the final stages of that search. The Wilfs have done a pretty good job, or they've tried to do a pretty good job keeping everything under wraps with who they've brought in. But what we do know is that there are 5 finalists right now, and Rob Brzezinski is very much one of the finalists, and I think that is something that can't be overstated. He was kind of thrown into the deep end right off the bat after they fired Kwesi, taking on a lot of the responsibilities and really just put in there to make everything work, to make everything kind of function, be that leader that frankly sometimes the organization lacked over the past few years. And he's done a really good job with that. He's got them through kind of this storm, effectively hit the draft, and then we'll see what comes to fruition out of the prospects. But he's done what he has to do, and even though he says he wasn't looking at it as a trial run, I think the past few months have been a trial run for him, and I think he's hit it out of the park. So he's a candidate. He's a finalist. But so is Reed Burkhardt, so is Terrence Gray, so is John McKay, and so is Nolan Teasley. So Reed Burkhardt from the Broncos, he has some connections here. Worked under Rick Spielman, worked under George Payton. Now he's with George Payton in Denver. So that's a guy who has a connection to the Vikings. Terrence Gray was a scout here for a decade. He has a connection to the Vikings. John McKay worked with Kevin O'Connell in Los Angeles, so there's the connection there. And Nolan Teasley, he's kind of an out-of-the-box guy because he doesn't have a connection, but they just won a Super Bowl, and he was the assistant general manager in Seattle. So we're kind of on the back nine here. I think we'll have an answer in the next week, maybe a couple of weeks at most. We need to find a GM here pretty soon.
Yeah, I would think so. We did track down Erik Johnson. Erik, how you doing, bud?
Hey, everything's good. What's going on?
So every time I see you on like Chiclets or Pat McAfee, you got this incredible background. So where are you living? Where are you doing these interviews from?
Just depends where you catch me. Right now I'm in Southern California driving down to San Diego. Yesterday I was in Santa Barbara, but just enjoying retirement life, not having to be really anywhere.
Have you stayed at the Ritz in Santa Barbara?
No, my friend has a big avocado ranch, a working avocado ranch, so we were out there just kind of ripping around ATVs, and Chicklets asked me to come on, and thought I'd, show the backdrop off, and it's right outside Montecito, so
yeah.
Perfect spot to do the interview. Yeah.
Montecito has become the new lifestyle of the rich and famous. It is unbelievable up there. But I go to Santa Barbara all the time and stay at that Ritz-Carlton there. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do in the off season.
I can't afford that like you, Mike.
We are talking with Erik Johnson, ESPN color analyst, Stanley Cup champion for the 22 Colorado Avalanche, and obviously former Gopher, former number 1 overall pick, and just an absolute rock star on ESPN. And before we get into this, these playoffs and all that type of stuff, I did a feature on you a couple of weeks ago, Erik, and I was fascinated about, one, obviously how well it feels like that you've transitioned into this new role, and how easy you make it feel. But it really all started with an NHL combine that they do in the summer, where they invite current and former players to sort of a boot camp of sorts in New York City, and you actually took advantage of that while playing for the Flyers.
Yeah, it's just a kind of a new development that the NHL has put on in conjunction with all the other teams, and so the NFL has done it for a long time, and the NHL just started doing it. I think I did the very first one in 2024, I think it was. And basically, the NHL invites any current or former player that would like to take part in the broadcast camp in New York City. You fly in and you go in for a day, and you do a mock studio set. You do a mock interview, like reporting set. And so, you know, they really bring you in, and you go in with your other players that are there. And I was on the set with Ryan Kessler, Nate Thompson, and Garnet Hathaway, and Steve Levy was hosting the set. And it's a real live shoot that you're doing, and you don't know any of the questions really coming, and Steve just throws you curveballs, and and then they basically give you like a highlight reel of all your best stuff from the camp. And you know, we sat in with Eddie Olczyk and Kenny Albert and Brian Boucher and Steve Levy, and just kind of got your foot in the door that maybe when you retire, this is something you'd want to get into. So I just did it thinking that it'd be fun experience, and not really thinking anything would come out of it. But sure enough, something did come out of it, and I'm glad I did it, and I hope a lot of other players take advantage of it.
Yeah, and man, you have transitioned really quickly, and you know, every time I talk to Steve Levy or Bob Wischusen, they all say you're a rising star. Ray Ferraro, you know, it took him a while to get these type of gigs, and you're immediately one on national broadcasts. You know, ABC and ESPN. I mean, there's got to be a pride there, because this is not, there have been great players that they put in the earpiece and it's like sensory overload, and you've made it look like a natural.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm really grateful for the opportunity and feel really lucky that I've been able to step in and be on these big broadcasts so quickly, and I don't take it for granted at all. And I do a lot of work behind the scenes and always want to get better, and know that, you know, there's always some way to improve your broadcast and what you can bring to the table. So it's really, I look at it, it's no different than being a musician or something. Your sound isn't going to be for everybody. How you call games isn't going to be for everybody. So there's always going to be critics, just like when you were a player too. You know, you always weren't going to satisfy everybody. So it's no different in doing TV. It's always finding a way to get better, and I've been lucky that I've had a lot of people in my corner helping me and pushing me and giving me feedback. So it hasn't always been smooth, but it's been fun, and I really enjoy the travel and talking about hockey, and being down in the action between the benches is awesome. So yeah, it's been really cool. So just to have that quick transition right out of the NHL as a player right into broadcasting has been the perfect fit for me.
We're talking with Erik Johnson, former Gopher from Bloomington. You can follow him on X as well at it's 6 Erik Johnson, right? Yep, 6 Erik Johnson.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Erik, let's talk about this series. Obviously, Colorado and Vegas. I think you and I both would be very stunned the way that this has transpired here, with Vegas now having a 3-0 series lead. Has it shocked you?
It has, and I think the biggest reason it has shocked me is I think Colorado thought that if they, once they lost game one, I think there's no chance they thought they weren't going to get the split. And how they lost in game two, I think, kind of shook them a little bit. They went through some adversity this year in the regular season, Mike, but not a ton, right? They were mostly healthy the whole season. They had a few spurts where they weren't playing well and they lost some games, but I tell you what, this is as steep of a mountain as they have to climb. And I say the saying goes, a wounded animal is a dangerous animal, but the Avs might be too wounded to have anything to say about this. I mean, Makar's hurt, McKinnon's hurt. If McKinnon plays, which I think he's going to try and play tonight, I don't know how effective he'll be, because he was really limited when he tried to come back and play. So the Avs are not getting saves at key times. Their power play hasn't been good. And Vegas, I think, has just stunned them with the stun gun, and I don't know if they can come back from this. Of course, obviously, they have to win tonight, but I don't know if they're healthy enough to put up a fight. But if there's a team that can come back and win 4 straight, it's this team.
Yeah, without a doubt. John Tortorella is 18-4-1 behind Vegas's bench since he took over on March 30th. You played for Torts. I know that you have a lot of appreciation and respect for him. When he was hired, obviously we know that Vegas, they were in a playoff spot. They were sputtering along, though. When he was hired, what is it about his personality, though, that was able to bring this team together so quickly?
I think, it's no secret that their former coach, Bruce Cassidy, has a history of maybe wearing out his welcome, and guys don't like playing for him. So I'm just speculating and guessing that he had worn out his welcome in Vegas. And on the flip side, Torts kind of has that reputation, too, for wearing out his welcome. But I think he's really evolved over time, and I think maybe the media or just hockey fans in general have this perception of him as a hard ass and a prick and all these things, and he can be all those things, but when you peel back the layers, he is a really, really good man that cares about people, and I saw it firsthand when I played for him in Philadelphia, the kind of guy he is. And so I think when he steps in...
Did we lose you?
...has that preconceived notion of what he is, but I think he has a lot of leeway for those players because they're veteran guys. They've won. They've played a lot of hockey. Mm-hmm. They know how to win. So I think Torts gave them a lot of rope to play with while implementing his style and how he wanted to play. And to me right now, Vegas is not a faster team than Colorado, but they're playing faster. They're kind of beating Colorado at their own game. They're not a faster team as far as how they skate, but they're moving the puck quicker. They're creating foot races and battles and one-on-one situations, and they've kind of put Colorado back on their heels, and they've done a great job of insulating the middle of the ice. Colorado hasn't gotten to the middle that often. Vegas has clogged up that middle of the ice between the hash marks below the blue lines around the face-off circles. So Torts has brought in his style while I think letting these guys play and have some breathing room and not being afraid to make a mistake. So these guys have the freedom to play within their skill set, but also adding the tweaks in that Torts has wanted to put in.
How much has being out of Toronto spotlight really helped Mitch Marner? I mean, does he look freer to you?
Yeah, I think it's just total crap that he was scapegoated in Toronto. Like, this is such a world-class player, and you almost knew he was going to go to a smaller market and just flourish. And while I think he enjoyed playing in Toronto, he's from there, had some great runs. I just felt like it would free him up a little bit going somewhere where the spotlight wasn't on him as much. And now that we're in the Final Four, the spotlight is on him, and he's shining on the biggest stage. He's never gotten this far in his career, and I think if the playoffs ended today, he'd probably win the Conn Smythe. So I'm not surprised how he's played. He's very versatile. He's smart. He thinks one step ahead of everybody else. You can put him on the power play. You can put him on the penalty kill. He's trusted in all situations, and I think Toronto thought getting rid of him was going to solve some of their problems, but at the end of the day, it created more. And Mitch Marner looks like worth every penny since coming over in that trade.
We're talking with Erik Johnson. And Erik, you were on the Pat McAfee show last week and obviously made some headlines when you said that your hot take was at some point in the next 3 years, you could see Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid in a Minnesota Wild uniform. And it kind of goes with what you were just saying, though, that there are going to be players that are suddenly going to look at this Marner situation as like, I wonder if getting out of this little bubble that I'm in all the time and being under the microscope, is gonna help. I mean, could you see Austin at some point be like, maybe it's time to leave, or even a Connor? And would Minnesota make sense?
Yeah, and the reason I say that, Mike, is because, look, these guys are going to look around the league, and they're not going to say, where can I make the most money? They're going to say, where can I win a Stanley Cup? Mm-hmm. And if you look at the Minnesota Wild, what are they missing? They are missing a bona fide superstar, number one center. You immediately slide, whether it's McDavid, whether it's Matthews, whether it's Hischier from New Jersey, who I think would fit in perfect in Minnesota. He's got 1 year left on his deal before free agency. So I think one of those guys, like they could make sense. Minnesota and Bill Guerin, they're known to big game hunt. They're going to be in the conversations to plan these big fish. And what's the one thing, and when you look at Minnesota's lineup that they're missing that center. So I think if you're McDavid or Matthews and you're looking around the league, where can I go win and where can I be the number one guy? It's going to be Minnesota. Yes, I've heard all these comments that how are they going to fit him into the Minnesota salary cap structure? Okay, number one, the cap is going to continue to rise. B, if you have the chance to land one of those players, if you're the Minnesota Wild, you will do whatever it takes to clear the space to bring them in. You immediately become a number one Stanley Cup contender. They have the goaltending for the future in Ballstead. They have the defensemen in Faber. They're probably going to re-sign Hughes. They have Joel Eriksson as the number 2 center if they can land that number 1 center. So it just makes sense. Like, if you're a center and you're not sure what your future holds and you haven't won yet and you want to win, where do you want to go? Like, to me, it's Minnesota through and through. I think they're going to land one of these number 1 center. I don't know who it is, but if my money's betting, I'm going probably Matthews. I could see his share, and then I think McDavid's a long shot, but never say never.
Right. Erik, before I let you go, I do want to ask you about horse racing. Obviously, you've gotten big time into it, starting in your playing days, but certainly after you recently bought a stable in Kentucky where you're breeding thoroughbreds. I know you've had horses named Landeskog and Biz Nasty and all that. How'd you get into this, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, that's funny. I'm actually driving right past the Del Mar racetrack right now on the 5 in Southern California. So, yeah, I got into it about 10 years ago. I bought my first racehorse and just slowly got into it over time. And I always wanted to have a place out in Kentucky and Lexington. I love the Lexington area. So just recently bought a 50-acre farm and have mares and foals. And when we breed and sell the babies every year. And it's just a really fascinating game. I always tell people that the adrenaline that you feel when you score a big goal in the NHL compared to the adrenaline when you see one of your racehorses coming down the stretch and about to win is very, very similar. So that if you're an adrenaline junkie that loves, going to beautiful places across the country and watching your horses run in big races, horse racing is for you. It's a tremendous sport. It's the oldest sport in the United States, and I think it's just a wonderful place to gather and bring friends and watch horses and have fun. And I was at Santa Anita yesterday at a horse racing named Malarchuk. He ran in a stakes race and ran second. And unfortunately, he had there's a term in horse racing called bleeding, where horses can bleed. They run so hard that they bleed through their nose, which restricts their breathing. So Malarchuk, our horse, bled a 5 out of 5. And that really hindered his performance. But it's an awesome game, and I try and bring teammates and friends and family to the races as much as I can. And Canterbury's a great spot to go in the summertime if anybody's looking for a great time. And just a really big fan of horse racing and the thoroughbred game, and it's a lot of fun.
And the Palings just had a horse, Canterbury, the other day, Pacific Standard, which I know he got the love from playing with you in Philly. So, Clint, I got to ask you, so Malarchuk, his day job is he's an equine dentist and chiropractor. I know that because I'm buddies with Clint. So is that how you got the horse name from Clint? And do you know Clint?
I do not. So the backstory is, Mike, we bought this horse last July. My partner, Paul Redham, and I, who's a huge Detroit Red Wings fan, he's named horses Pavel and Nyquist, and he won the Kentucky Derby with I'll Have Another and Nyquist. So this horse came up for sale, and he was already named Malarchuk because his sire, his father, is Nyquist, so they just had the hockey tie-in with that. And he was already named Malarchuk, being a son of Nyquist, so we bought him, and we're hoping we have a big summer with him, and we can win some big races.
That's awesome. Well, if you want the intro, I don't mind sharing Clint's number with you. He'd love to hear this. Well, hey, EJ, I really appreciate it. Yeah, EJ, really appreciate it. Send my best to your parents, Bruce and Peggy. They are the best, and really looking forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, Mike. Take care. Appreciate it.
That is Erik Johnson, ESPN color analyst, Stanley Cup champion of the 22 Colorado Avalanche, and well said on what he was talking about with McDavid and Matthews and Nico Hischier. When we come back, Dane Mizutani is still in studio. We'll talk to him about the Vikings, the Wolves, and maybe a little bit about the beat that he used to cover, the Minnesota Wild, and their pursuit of Connor McDavid now. We'll be back on The Fan.
It's Michael Russo on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by the Minnesota Department of Public Safety.
Moving road work causing a significant delay on Highway 169 southbound. Your stop and go between Betty Crocker Drive and Frontage Road. Highway 10 eastbound, disabled vehicle on the right shoulder at 35W. And Wayzata is closed in both directions between Gleason Lake and Carlson Parkway with road work until the 29th. I'm Bonnie Green, and that's your latest total traffic.
Chances are, if you're hearing this spot, you're currently in a vehicle. And if you're not wearing a seatbelt, well, that...
Celebrate America's 250th anniversary with The Fan and $250,000 in cash. Starting Monday, you could win your share with $2,500 toward your dream getaway. Listen for the keyword, enter it at KFAN.com at 8 a.m., and hit the road America style.
If the Wild trade for Connor McDavid, that would get you back on the beat, right?
Yeah, I think so. Or, hey, if Austin Matthews is coming to town, I think I'll make the switch over too.
I'll send Jess Myers as new Vikings beat writer for the Pioneer Press, and
we'll make the trade if the Wild can get a number one center, which they have lacked forever.
Yeah, for my entire history. His rationale makes a lot of sense. He's, like Bill Guerin has made it extremely clear that he is going big game hunting. Everything about what Erik said makes a ton of sense. If you had a chance to get one of those guys, anybody would move heaven and earth to get them.
Yeah.
The question is, do they have what it takes? And again, like a lot of times, if you have a no move clause, you're dictating where you want to go.
Yeah.
I
think they do have what it takes. And I was listening to Gorg and Joe O'Donnell in studio, and I think what it takes is maybe going to be a goalie that they don't want to trade. But to your point earlier, a lot of good goalies in the NHL, a lot of great goalies in the NHL don't get anywhere close.
I don't think you build around a goalie anymore.
You can't.
I would trade him in a minute.
If it could get you McDavid or Matthews, it's not a question.
Or even a Hischier. Yeah. The problem is with, Hischier might be the first available if he doesn't resign in New Jersey. And if it would cost you Jesper, I don't think you could do it now with everything up in the air with Phillip. So, it was interesting because I had Bill Guerin on last Wednesday, and he said that we'd have a Philip Gustafson injury update quote shortly, and we haven't gotten one yet. I don't think that means anything. It might have just fallen through the cracks. It literally might be that Bill Guerin forgot to just text Aaron Stickman, hey, put this out. So, it's kind of interesting.
But it is interesting too. People were concocting all these trades in their heads after they get kind of smoked by the Avs in the second round, and then Bill casually drops hey, by the way, he's having surgery.
Any other injuries? Philip Gustafson's having hip surgery today.
So it's partially what the Wild are dealing with now, and what the Timberwolves are dealing with now is when you lose a series in the fashion that you did. Fans want to come up with trades and come up with ways to fix the team as quickly as possible. What I think the Wild have going for them is I don't think they're far away. I think the Timberwolves suddenly are very far away. You
told me that on the phone a couple of weeks ago or a week ago that you think the Wolves are now further away, which I was shocked at.
I do, because I think when you look at kind of what the Timberwolves did, the build that they kind of constructed, it was, Tim Connelly would deny this. He actually did. He said, we don't build to beat one team in particular, but that roster as currently constructed was built to beat the Denver Nuggets, and it does beat the Denver Nuggets. Time and time again, the Wolves have beat the Denver Nuggets, but now the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs are a heck of a lot better than the Denver Nuggets, and they are built nothing like them. So how do you shape shift and move on the fly to now beat an Oklahoma City Thunder and a San Antonio Spurs team that you kind of feel like you're light years behind? Now, the only benefit the Timberwolves have is they have Anthony Edwards, a top 5 player, and they have pieces to move to go out and get a running mate for him. But that's harder to do, I think, than finding a number one center, because there just aren't a lot of guys that you're going to be able to go pair with Anthony Edwards on the fly without gutting your entire team.
Yeah. You're not getting Wemby Jr.
Exactly.
SGA, dude, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's embarrassing to be as good as he is and to flop around like a fish all throughout the court. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You're certainly not alone. It seems like every single time he flops now, it's kind of put together in a compilation on Twitter, on X, on any social media platform, and it's shown. It's unfortunate because he's such a good player. He can get to the hoop at will. He can get to his spots at will. He doesn't need to be doing all that. I guess the argument,
like these guys know there's cameras in the building, right? They are aware of this.
Yeah.
Like when he falls and nobody touches him, does he realize that that's going to be seen and he's going to look like a fool?
I think the counterpoint to that is in the NBA, like anything is allowed in the playoffs from a defensive perspective. Just look at what the Timberwolves were doing to Victor Wembanyama. Timberwolves fans aren't going to like hearing this, but they were just grabbing, hooking, holding, doing anything they could on the defensive end. So I don't think that necessarily brings merit to flopping, but it is sometimes these offensive players' only defense against just super physical defense is to just flail their body around like a fish. And I don't like it. I don't think it's a good product. But until there are real consequences, until it's not just public shaming on social media, until it's suspensions or fines or whatever, and probably not fines.
I think the way to do it is that like you get a foul too.
Exactly. That'd
be the only way.
That's the only way. But then you really dive into kind of this uncharted territory of like subjective, like totally subjective, and like if you're assessing fouls but like that might be the only way to do it because like, look, public shaming doesn't matter. SGA still is going to flop tonight, and fines don't matter. These guys make more money than God. So it's going to have to be something tangible, whether you add up flops and turn them into suspensions, or you just, if it's deemed by a referee that you flopped, the foul goes the other way. It's treated almost like an offensive foul.
You know what I'm amazed about fans? And maybe this is, maybe I just don't get it because I've never been I haven't been a fan of a team since I was a kid because I've been a sports writer since I was like 14. But the way they'll go to town to defend it, like the funniest thing, you see these videos, these compilation videos of SGA flopping or Wemby flopping or Harden flopping, and you've got these Cleveland and San Antonio and Oklahoma doing everything power to sit there and defend these guys when all that you got to do, like I pointed out on Twitter last night that Lane Hudson had one of the most embarrassing flops I've ever seen in my life, and Montreal fans are just going to town calling me biased, like I'm a huge Carolina Hurricane fan or something. You know, like I'm like, open your eyes here. Like, why as a fan do you have to just throw away those like you cannot throw away glasses that you have to defend your player to the nth degree when something is so obvious? It's like Vegas fans just going out of the box to defend Bruce Cassidy not being allowed to interview other teams, or them adding a Carter Hart, or, you know, like it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the world of social media, I think. It's the world of the hot take. You have to have kind of the steadfast opinion that totally alters the opinion, or is the antithesis of the opinion being thrown your way. But you see it all over. It's made sports in some ways super unenjoyable because there is just such this polarizing dynamic to just talking about something that seems so very obvious. But like, not to bring this back to Timberwolves fans, I'm not trying to make enemies here, but you could say the same thing about the way Timberwolves fans were defending the way that the Wolves were defending Victor Wembanyama. Just open your eyes and you see that they're grabbing, and you see that Julius Randle's putting his elbow into the back of Victor Wembanyama, and you see a push here and a push there. But when Wemby flails his body one time, it's there's the flop. That, like, we can't have that. It's almost like social media has created a world in which fans aren't able to see anything else except for something that would benefit their team. And I guess in some ways there's beauty to that. I wish I had that fandom, that childhood-like fandom again. That's been zapped out of me as it's been zapped out of you.
Except for go for football for you.
Oh, yeah, I'll rush the field again tonight. If they played a game tonight, they pulled an upset, I would be on the field for the 10th time in my life.
Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little Vikings with Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press. You can follow him on X. He's getting married next summer. We're all excited about that. Yeah, you're wearing a baseball cap, so we can't see your perm.
We can discuss my future wedding and my perm after break.
We'll be back.
It's Russo Radio on the Fan.
It happens only once a year in Las Vegas.
Our legendary.
Final couple minutes of the show. This is Michael Russo from The Athletic. Thanks to Brett Blakemore behind the glass today. He had to put in a little... You got in your steps today.
Yeah, seriously.
Got in a little bit of... We had no break at one point, all that stuff. Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press in studio. Dane, the Vikings beat writer for the Pioneer Press and big Wolves expert. Vikings, OTAs start tomorrow. I know you're excited about that. I'm sure there's going to be 1,000, some more Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy talk for the next 3 months. Where are you on where that is going to go?
Yeah, well, like I said when I first came in, like I'm just excited to see them throw a football rather than talk about it in the abstract. But I think it's interesting when you look at the Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy situation. Everywhere we've heard and all the reports we've heard is that it's going to be a competition. It's a legitimate quarterback competition. That is the messaging that has been hammered home. I'm inclined to, I guess, believe that. But I think it's a competition in the way, like I would kind of compare it to this. If you were asked Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy to race a 100-yard football field and the first person to get to the end zone was the quarterback, like I think Kyler Murray is starting on like the 50-yard line. I think he is so far ahead as the starting point that yes, technically it's a competition, but it would have to go either seriously wrong for Kyler Murray or J.J. McCarthy would have to show growth in a way we haven't seen yet to this point in his career for that to flip. I think it's a competition in the sense of they're not giving it to Kyler Murray just because he's signed here. He's not automatically QB1. But I don't think this thing is going to be particularly close by time training camp rolls around.
But based on who Kyler Murray is and the fact that he doesn't sign here if he thinks he doesn't have that chance, or just because you genuinely think that he is at this point in his career going to be the guaranteed, like at this point, number one over JJ.
I just think Kyler Murray is more proven, and people would say, well, he hasn't realized his potential. He got benched for Jacoby Brissett last year. All of that is either true or somewhat true, but he's just better than J.J. McCarthy right now as things currently stand with what they've done. So I think part of that is chalked up to J.J. McCarthy not being able to stay on the field, J.J. McCarthy being super inconsistent at times when he was on the field. I'm not done with J.J. McCarthy. I don't think it's just over trade him for anything because he can't be anything in the NFL. I think there's a chance for him to still realize his potential. But I think when you look at what Kyler Murray has done to this point in his career and just the immense amount of pressure that's on the Vikings to win this year, you're always going to err on the side of the guy who has done something in the NFL as opposed to a guy who has kind of struggled through 10 games in the NFL and frankly hasn't been available. Now, I don't think they're trading J.J. McCarthy. I think they're still invested in his growth. I just think right now, I think in some ways people's brains have been broken with how the quarterback situation has gone in Minnesota. I think when week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 rolls around and Kyler Murray's under center, people will realize Kyler Murray is still a pretty freaking good quarterback.
Mm-hmm. So I have one friend in my life from Hawaii.
Okay.
And when I became friends with that person from Hawaii, I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool because one day that friend is going to get married and I'm going to get to go to a wedding in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Come to learn that friend in Hawaii proposes to his girlfriend. She says yes, and he's getting married in Northeast Minneapolis.
Friend is me.
Yeah, exactly. What the hell? How the hell did that happen? And what if I just chip in a little bit? Could we change this wedding?
If you and a lot of other people chipped in a lot, we could get married in Hawaii. No, the cost is definitely part of it, but also not to get all sappy and romantic, but mine and my fiance's relationship, We met kind of from afar, but our relationship has been in Minneapolis. So we are excited to show everybody.
Have you brought her to Hawaii?
Oh yeah, we have. But
just imagine getting married on the beach with the sunset in the background, and your friend Mike Russo there enjoying Hawaii.
Would love nothing more, but we don't want to be in mega wedding debt right off the bat. No, it was something we considered.
Not long enough.
In a perfect world, it would be happening there. But we're really excited about the place we picked in Minneapolis.
I'm excited too because that used to be my stomping ground.
Yeah, it's right in your old backyard.
I know, which also pisses me off.
We're excited. June 2027. You've known me since.
What if the Wild are in the Cup? I can't come.
We'll cross that bridge.
Connor McDavid.
If we have to cross that bridge, I think it's a good thing for Minnesota. But you've known me since I've 20 years old, and now I'm 34, about to get married. So time flies.
Yeah, it is crazy. Well, congratulations, I guess. I think it should be Hawaii.
We'll if things change, if we come into a great sum of money over the next year, maybe we'll make a change on the fly. But you've been to Hawaii. You love that place.
I do.
You'll get back whether it's for my wedding or not.
Yeah. Dan, thanks for coming in. That's Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press. Thanks to Kevin Gorg and Joe O'Donnell for coming on. Erik Johnson, Dan Duva, and, of course, Wild Assistant GM Matt Sells. You can podcast all of this on the Fan website, the iHeartRadio app later. Thanks to Brett Blakemore behind the glass. Good job. Even though we didn't go to commercial for like an hour at one point.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah. Thanks, man. This is Mike Russo from The Athletic. Maybe I'll be in